finally got a big update for you guys on the adventure trailer build. Now, lots happened since then, but this next part, I only filmed it in vertical on accident, really dropped the ball on that one, but this is just kind of bridging the gap. I thought about this, made some decisions the other day, and we have a box. Now, I'm still gonna make this into the rooftop tent situation up here. I just gotta enclose it and then build some doors on there in the back, but in the meantime I need to order some more metal because I don't have enough to finish it. So that's kind of where we're at. So after much contemplation, I'm gonna go ahead and weld the frame of this thing all solid, not this part for like the actual box of the trailer, but like the heavy duty bottom of the trailer. I'm gonna go ahead and get that all welded up so I don't have to worry about it. It can be solid, and then that way I can get the braces in for the wood, because I have to put at least one more brace in here to screw the wood down to in the front section. The back section should be fine. I got these brackets all welded in for the axles on the corners, but I still have to weld in the tongue braces here, this section right here, and I think that's actually it on this part. I did not weld these in, I just have them tacked in, just some braces for the tongue there. Went ahead and got this bar tacked in right here. This is gonna be for the edge of the wood. There's gonna be two pieces of 3/4 inch plywood, one here, one here. So that's to bolt that down. And then I started getting this front door tacked up, but I made it a little bit too tight, so I'm gonna have to pull that out and trim just a little bit off. I think I'm gonna try to keep it at a 3/16 gap all the way around here, and that'll allow for just nice fit. It's gonna have a flange behind here to seal it, is my thought so far. I had some big gnarly hinges, but I think I'm gonna use these just because it'll look a little nicer. I'll still use the big gnarly ones on the back because I'm gonna do a big back door. So my dad and I have been in here going hard, cutting metal, getting everything tacked in. We basically have the entire frame put together. Got all the roof bracing, the bracing for the tent installed, got the doors on. You guys already seen that, but I think it's about ready for some wood and then the tin. So I'm just gonna order some custom tin. I keep saying tin, but I mean sheet metal. Don't get me wrong, it's not tin, it's sheet metal. But some people have raised some concerns that I was putting tin on this thing. I don't even know where you buy tin anymore for this, or like it's metal sheeting that's already painted. So it'll cover the outsides, basically the doors, all the panels, and then on the top, it's gonna have to be in two pieces because they can't make one this wide. But I'm gonna do a seam right here in the middle. It'll be underneath the tent and possibly under a solar panel on the front. So I think that'll be fine. But that's what she's looking like. Let me zoom out a little bit. So the braces for the tent are gonna go right here and right here. So that's where it'll mount. I'll probably, depending on when I get a tent, how I do it, I think I'll probably just drill some holes and then weld a piece of conduit in here or something so the tubing doesn't squish down. And that way you just climb inside the trailer to bolt the tent down. But overall, it's looking pretty good. I did two braces on the front here because, you know, that's a pretty big span. So with the tin on there, you don't want it to like get pushed in by the wind. So I just decided that I would pull on this and try to, you know, make it fit a little bit better. And I ended up busting that hinge off. I had a few tacks on there, but I don't know. Just the way that has to be welded on there, it kind of makes me want to just get rid of these hinges and put the big heavy duty ones on. But I don't know, that sucks. I got to retack that. So change of plans with the door here. I went down to the welding store and I bought some of these little bullet hinges. These are just your standard weld on hinge. So basically one side will go right there, and then the other side will go down here, you know, flipped obviously. But I'm gonna redo that, get this door fitting again, because it's not even close now. I tried to tweak it and that's what broke this off. So we'll have to reassess on that part, but we got these nice ones, so let's go ahead and throw those on. In other news, I got this box mounted down. For this, I just got riv nuts and put them in, or nut certs, whatever you want to call them. Just drilled a hole, put it in the frame, pressed it in there, and that way I can bolt this down nice and solid. This just needs a little TLC, and that'll be good to go. Next up, off the camera. I had to drill these holes out just a little bit bigger to fit 7/16 bolts, but I got bolts for those, drilled them out, so those are ready to go. The next thing I'm gonna do is figure out this tongue jack situation. So I bought this one from Harbor Freight, but it doesn't swing up completely out of the way to where it wouldn't get ripped off if you went through a dip. So I'm gonna have to go back and get a different one that doesn't have a welded on foot, because I need to be able to turn it sideways. And then I got all the sheeting ordered. So for the roof panels, I had them do a custom drip edge on there, and then the side panels, they just have a 90 and then it goes straight down. So I'm thinking I'm gonna use double-sided tape to actually attach those on, but I'm not 100% committed to that. Let me know your thoughts on this situation here with the two roof panels. I think just one solid sheet, I think it'll be fine, because you really only have one seam. I'll probably glue this down and then maybe even bolt some L-track over it so it's like hidden and then also looks nice. Hear me out. Kayak rack on the side of this right here, and on a hinge so you can fold it up and down. Fold it up when it's not in use so you don't have this big bulky thing, but basically just shove a big kayak right here on the side, strap over it. Now, even more adventure packed into the small adventure trailer. You got mountain bikes inside, you got all your camping stuff up there, you got food, just mint. And then you throw on a river/lake adventure on the side. You could even probably do two right here, I bet. 2 kayaks. I like that idea. And we got her all locked in besides that door that I just busted off. Pretty much all of the welding is done except for these 2 braces right here. I don't know why I'm not welding these. I'm honestly just a little bit skeptical about having them on there for some reason. I'm not sure. I think it needs it for the stability, but I just haven't got to welding those yet, so I think I'm gonna hold off on that still. But the frame is locked in. Profit is locked, boys. Our next order of business is to cut the flooring that goes in here. So I've got 3/4 inch, right?
Yep.
Yeah, we got 3/4 inch sanded plywood, so it'll look real nice. But we got to cut it to fit this. It's basically the first piece is going to come from the outer edge right here all the way up to the center of this beam. But then we have to notch it around all of these little side supports. So we'll cut the main piece with the circular saw, and then we'll use the jigsaw to cut out those little notches there. And hopefully we can get it just to fit right down in there. And then we can just do probably pre-drill it and then do some self-tapper screws. But I'm just gonna get it fitting in there right now. And then once we get to the point where this whole frame is painted, then we can just bolt that down for good and have it done once. It's worth mentioning that although we we're able to get this board in pretty decently. Right now, I ended up adding a couple more supports in the wall, as well as the flange that goes around the door opening for the weather strip. And those small adjustments made it significantly harder to get this in. And we had to fight it for quite a while. We ended up having to shave a couple of the holes a little bit wider just so we could even get it to lay in there. I'm just gonna put a piece of flat iron right along here, and then we can screw it down to there because of the way that this door closes. Now that'll close right up against the floor there. If that makes sense. Okay, the second piece is in. Looks pretty good. We had a little mishap right here with the cutting because I kind of forgot that that only goes to there, so I didn't need to cut out for this. But yeah, she's looking good. See, like you could almost just make this into like a little bed in there. It'd be kind of cool. So guys, I realized there was a little bit of a snag. This is a fabricator error, which is kind of embarrassing to admit, but it happened. So I had this all tacked up and squared before we put all these braces in the other day. Well, before that, in the meantime, I accidentally knocked it off of the stand in the front, and it wasn't tacked solid enough, so I think it shifted, and now it's slightly out of square. So when you cross measure this, it's a little bit out. The other side isn't quite as bad, but this side's slightly worse. The front's like right on, but that made this door really not fit that good. And so I was trying to tweak it the other day, and that's when I ended up breaking the tacks off the hinge. So now the solution, since it's already welded, is to make this door slightly out of square as well, so it fits in there. And I don't think you'll notice in the end, but it's one of those things where I'm like double checking it to try and figure out why my door is not fitting the way that it should, and then realizing that I got in a hurry, got excited to weld it up, and didn't double check the square. So that's a bummer. If you're ever building something, just make sure you triple check the square, because I didn't, and now I got to modify some a little bit, but really not too big of a deal. I got my spacers back in there to get the door set up, and I don't have this top piece on yet, so I'll come back and fit that here in a minute. But I've got those hinges right here, and the nice thing about these hinges, if you've never done these before, they're super easy to fit up on a door like this. Instead of having to try and tack it on the edge and swing it out and keep it in place like those door hinges, which aren't meant to be used like that, all you got to do is set it where you want it, one on each side, unweld it. Tack it first, make sure you got it going the way you want. Let's go ahead and get these tacked on here, see if we can't get this door done for like the third time. Big update, and I didn't film some of this work that I've done on the back door there, but we got a tent and I got it up there to kind of scope it out. And I also did a little bit of work. I got some bracing put in here. I ordered some 3/4 inch square tubing to put in between the panels, so there'll be an outer and an inner panel. So I just did a thin square tubing to brace that up so it's nice and solid. I also got the latch installed, and then I went and bought a jack. I got a drop leg jack. The last one that I got wasn't tall enough, and then also had a top crank, so that wasn't going to work. So I'm kind of in the middle of trying to figure out how to mount this and then have it not rattle. So I've kind of got like this little thing right here. I'm just kind of looking at that to see about mounting this right there for the back jack so that it can be stabilized, and then also make it so you could, if you needed to change the tire, you can use this to lift up the side. What else do I have going on? I got to build a rack for the tent so I can raise it up off of the roof. I was thinking about putting a little light, like if I put a light on the end of this pole, it would raise up so that you could get some light over your campground. I don't know, I've got way too many things going on and I need to focus on one thing at a time. But right now I got this cardboard out here. I'm gonna try to lay out the rack so I can figure out the angles for how tall I want the tent up off of the roof. So that's what I'm working on right now, which is like 75 different things, I know, but it's exciting. I'm stoked to have the tent on there. I picked this up off KSL. It's very lightly used, but I think it will look pretty good at the trailer. And yeah, if I can get the rest of this stuff figured out here with the jacks, with the door, the little kitchen table, probably a couple other odds and ends, then I can take this, strip it all down, and then I can either send it to get powder coated or I can paint it. So that's what I'm trying to work on right now and get that all settled in, and that'll really start making some progress once we get to the point of reassembly and all that. But for now, I'm going to probably start with this one, try and figure out those measurements so I can build the rack to attach the tent. So with this tent, it's got a little zipper for the cover. So I want it to be up off the roof so you're not trying to zip this like right on top of that sheet metal. And also I think it'll just be a little bit nicer to have it sitting up off here for mounting it. So the idea is to have a bar that's just like, you know, 4 or 5 inches up, comes over, and then it slopes down, and then it actually bolts on to this outer edge instead of bolting onto here. So right now I just have it kind of attached there so it doesn't fall off while I'm assessing this situation. But I think if I put some nutserts in this outer piece, bolted it down right there, and then it slopes up, goes to the tent, that'll just be a nice easy way to install and remove the tent. But then also it'll put the weight out here on the outside of the tent, or the outside of the trailer, instead of just on this roof support right here. So, you know, my obvious engineering degree is going to help me out with that. If you guys could tell, I feel like I have a little bit of a touch of ADHD with some of these projects, because I just go like I was just showing you, I got one thing to the next, and it's out of hand quick. All right, so what I'm thinking is I have that piece marked out where it needs to be for the angle, and I'm gonna kind of scope out this idea for notching that in and then just having one straight piece that fits into those two side deals. So where I've got that cut out right there, I'm just gonna cut this off, and I'm gonna notch this out, and basically that will allow me just to weld right here, down right there, and then I'll use that top tube so it'll be all straight. light fast forwarding for longer than it should have been. I feel like I have the plates right here on the bottom to mount these. Got the fish plates still on there. I need to weld those. So I'm gonna take all this back off, weld around here, and then I can either drill the holes all the way through this top tube on the trailer itself, or I can drill them just in the top of this tube and put a couple nutserts in it. So anyways, that'll raise the tent up a little over 5 inches. So that'll make it a little bit nicer as far as getting the ladder down, and then also having a little more room up on top. Let's go ahead and get both of these welded up and we can move on. So what I came up with to mount these jacks on the rear is just to weld a couple of 1/2-inch bolts right to the jack, and then I drilled holes through a piece of square tubing that I welded to the frame and then to that back corner. So that way, once I get the siding on, I can just kind of tap it with the hammer, find out where the hole is, drill that out, and then the jack will just bolt on right through the side. So I did that on the one side. I didn't film it because it was a lot of back and forth trying to figure out what was even going to work. And so now all I got to do is replicate it for the other side, and then, you know, we'll be in the green, boy. Now the nice thing about doing this other jack in the back is I already have it figured out. So I just got to cut that tube, drill 2 holes, weld 2 bolts on right there onto the jack, and mount her up. So the hardest part is really going to be, I didn't take a measurement before I drilled that huge hole that's on the outside. So gotta do that, but let's hurry and pull that jack off and get those measurements. Okay, I got that piece cut. Now I have it sitting in place. It's a little bit tipped this way and a little bit tipped this way. So that means I'm gonna tack it on this back corner right here. That way I can bring it back into straight up and down. And then I can also tip it in to get it straight with the outside of the trailer. So if you're tacking something, make sure you think about what corner you're going to tack it on based on what way you're going to need to move it. Instead of trying to sit there and hold it with a square and get everything all at once while you're trying to put a tack on, this is going to be the easier way to do it. So okay, now see, that provides a nice easy way to bring that in where we need. I got a bigger square around here somewhere. Just gonna put one right here on the outside. It's a nice easy one to take off if I need to. You know, hold it, give it a little tension. Okay, not super sturdy, but that'll give us a good starting point. Now, due to the fact that this one has this plate right here, you can see for the seal, I'm gonna have to notch that square tubing out. If that didn't make sense to you, I basically just took this and took the bandsaw, made that nice little cut, and then I can trim this where I need to fit this back side of this little strap here. Show you guys what I mean. So see how that strap had to fit in there? So if you guys happen to notice in that, I drilled the hole on the outside right there, much bigger than I did on the inside. I did the same thing on the other side, or the other side of the trailer, and that's because the head of the bolt and that weld stick out. So I wanted this to be able to go in there and then fit flush. So it still has a 1/2-inch hole on the inside, actually one step above 1/2 inch, just so I have a little bit of room. The long-awaited paint day is finally here on the trailer build. So I kind of haven't really been working on it too much, but we're getting back on it today. Since the last video that I did, I added a couple things. I decided to put a holder for the spare tire right here, so that'll just bolt on the front. And I'm getting rid of the tongue box, which has been on the plan since the inception of this project, but we're getting rid of that, and it'll make it a little easier so you can step up here to get to the tent, and then also just looks nicer with the tire right there. I didn't really have very many options as to where I could mount it, so we did that. And then I'll show you this in the back. I welded a receiver in, and I put this in so that I could end up carrying like the Suron or another bike rack on the back if I wanted to, because if I was towing this with the 4Runner, there's no way for me to haul the Suron, and I think that would be pretty cool to be able to haul that. It's not like for weight serious towing or anything, but just so that I have that option in the future. Now, to make that work like that, you might be wondering how to get the pin in. I actually had to make a notch in this tubing so that you could get the pin in right here. So on both sides it has a cutout. You can kind of see that cutout that I welded back in there. And that'll just keep it real uptight to the frame because I didn't want to have it hanging down to where it's going to be hitting on something. And then up here I just welded it to this beam and to that one right there. And then there's a little bit of a gap, and that works out perfect because then I can run my wires for the trailer through there and then over to the side. So we're just gonna get it cleaned up and finally get to painting it. I'm probably gonna put some degreaser on it and just pressure wash it off real quick because there's a lot of grease from the metal and then just like dirty smoke from welding it and everything. Not gonna lie guys, this is exciting. This is the first time that the trailer's been outside since it was flat metal. So pretty stoked on it. I think it just looks so cool right now, all clean metal and looks all complex and whatnot. Let me show you guys. Looks good, all cleaned up. So now I'm just gonna let it dry out here in the sun for a minute, make sure we get all that water off there, and then we can go to the wipe down phase, and then we'll wheel it over, get it in the booth, and then we can start getting some paint going on. Now I was considering doing a powder coat on this. I got a quote on this and it would have put me well over my budget just to get it powder coated, and most of the frame's gonna be covered up anyways, so probably spray some rock guard on the front end where it's gonna get rock chips and stuff, but then the rest of it will just be regular paint. It's gonna be some sort of I don't know, I'm not the paint guy, but it's gonna have like a wet on wet, so it'll have like an epoxy primer first right over the bare metal, and then you have to wait 45 minutes, and once that's waited long enough, then you can spray the paint right over the top and you don't have to sand it, because I do not want to sand all these tubes to get it smooth. Let's pull those jacks off and then we'll see about setting it right on those pins and how to look at it. What do you think?
I think that's gonna work good.
Okay, we got her in the jack stands. Now I'm gonna go ahead and take the sander around to this whole outside of this thing and get it kind of smoothed out, scuffed up a little bit so the paint sticks, because the outer sheeting is gonna be stuck down with tape, hopefully. So I want a nice solid adhesion of the paint to the metal. So finally got her all sanded, but it's real dirty, so we're gonna wipe her down. This is a grease and wax remover. Hopefully you guys can hear it, it's kind of loud. But yeah, I got a microfiber right there. You can see that yellow cloth. I'm gonna use that just because it's so dirty. So it'll give me like a good starting point, and then we'll probably have to go back over it again to really get it clean to actually paint. So. Coming here to the mixing room. This is our new setup we got in here. So we got all the paint mixers, got the computer, it shows the recipe for the paint, if you will. So how much do you think we're gonna need to start?
I think we're gonna take like 0.3 of a liter, which is like most of this cup. It's not very much, but that's goes away. So we'll try that. So we can go from there.
Start with that. So this is gonna be the etch primer, right? That's what you'd call it.
Yeah.
So this is what protects the paint. It's like the first layer, and that gives a good base layer for the next actual black paint to lay down to. Would you say that's a pretty good rough description of what it does?
Yep. It bonds to metal. Gives you a good base.
So like I said, I'm not a paint guy. This is the paint master right here. I'm just the film guy at this stage. I'm gonna be spraying it, but he's really showing me what to do.
This is just slacker thinner, but at the edge it works as a reducer.
So reducer just means that it thins it out.
Thins it out, makes it a little smoother. If you were using it more like a layer on your primer, you would do the reducer, it'd give you a little thicker build, but it'd be a little rougher texture. So, you want these here lids. Snap that on. Over the old shaker here. You're rolling in a shake. Top. Otherwise, when you go to open this up, sometimes the paint will spew out on it. You don't want that.
How would you know that?
It's happened a time or two.
Yeah.
Cups, you screw them on, you're good to go.
Now I got to suit up and go to work. Went down to the old Harbor Freight, got me my own paint suit, so I'm like big baller now, huh?
Big baller, yeah.
A little wild with the zoom.
Just enough to put on there, it works better as magic.
Okay. Here we go. This is kind of fun, actually, so far.
Took a deal, sign another deal, post up in the hills on the rail, headed for a mill, travel with me still, getting kills, all this pop appeal, got these pop stars try popping in, and they getting pop for real. I ain't tryna build, I was tryna lead a mill, getting to it, before I hopped up off the block, I was still going through it, friends doing pills, and came faster than it should've, I was Buddy Hill, shooting at a pace soon as I pull up, dropping buckets, hey, yeah, like it's nothing. In the kitchen chopping onions, yeah. Tears falling down, underdog is finally overcoming, cause I'm dropping buckets, hey, yeah, like it's nothing, hey. Earn my respect and burn a budget, hey. Tears falling down, underdog is finally overcoming, baby, yeah, I'm dropping buckets. Drop some cash for me, don't worry about my past for me. I'm driving with no gasoline, this life I live's a fantasy. Yeah, I do this for my dogs, all my day ones and my family. My life gon' live through them if I end up in any tragedies. I hope y'all understand this shit got bigger cause it had to be. I always knew I had it, but just not at this capacity. I recognize the gravity, closer to the summit, stacking chips and counting nuggets. I've been stunting, baby, cause I'm dropping buckets, hey. Yeah, like it's nothing, ayy. In the kitchen chopping onions, ayy. Tears falling down, underdog is finally overcoming, cause I'm dropping buckets, ayy. Yeah, like it's nothing, ayy. Earn my respect and burn a budget, ayy. Tears falling down, underdog is finally overcoming, baby, cause I'm dropping buckets. Earn my respect and burn a budget. Tears falling down, underdog is finally overcoming, baby, cause I'm dropping buckets.
What is up? We're back here in the morning again, and it's assembly day. So I'm gonna go ahead and get these little stub axles mounted up to the old trailer and get the wheels on it and roll this hoe out of here. So when I started this episode, my intention was to go from where I left off on episode 1 all the way to the end, but it turns out I have way more footage than I thought, so I'm just gonna add that onto the next one. So stay tuned for that. Let's get it out of here, dude. Let's mount this stuff up. It's my first paint job. I think it came out pretty decent. Nice and shiny. Oh, this is exciting. It's so smooth and clean and nice. Okay, let's get it out of here, dude.